Caught my aunt cheating on our bodyguard. I was helping my aunt organize stuff for a small get-together at her place. She's always been extra about security ever since some break-in scare a while back, so she hired this private bodyguard dude who basically just stands around and watches everything like a hawk. I never thought much of it. He's quiet, barely says more than a few words, and always looks like he's judging everyone's life choices. My aunt's married, by the way. Her husband wasn't at the house that day. Said he was heading out of town for work. Seemed normal. Anyway, I went back to grab something from the guest house where the bodyguard usually stays. I wasn't trying to snoop or anything. I straight up thought no one was in there. I opened the door and boom. There she was, straddling the guy like it was her full-time job. I froze. They both freaked out. She screamed my name and tried to explain. Like there's any way to explain that when you're half naked and literally on top of the hired help. I just mumbled something and dipped out of there like my soul left my body. Now I'm stuck acting like I didn't see anything, and it's eating me alive. I feel like I'm part of some sketchy Netflix plot now. Do I say something? Do I just keep pretending?
So I just recently found out my wife has herpes. Our relationship is good, but it hasn't always been. We got pregnant with our first daughter early on within a few months of us being together. We now have 2 kids, 2 daughters. I've cheated on her several times in the beginning of our 6 years, and she cheated on me once. So she says, I just found a bottle of herpes medicine, and this is only the second one I've ever found. The first one I found was just a couple months ago. She claims she got herpes with a guy named Drake that she cheated on me with in the beginning of our relationship. I already knew about Drake because her and I have opened up to each other in the past in an attempt to build trust that was lacking. I told her about the women I've had in the beginning, and she told me about the supposedly only one time she cheated on me with this Drake guy. So I found the bottle of medicine again, and I asked her if she had herpes, and she got upset and said she caught it from Drake, and she's kept it a secret from me for 6 years. I don't know if I believe her. I think she's just using the Drake excuse because I already knew about him, although she says she can pull up her medical records and prove to me everything, and it would match up with the time period of Drake. I have yet to see the proof. I don't know if it's possible to keep something like that from somebody for 6 years. I need some advice. What do y'all think?
I wanted to share this little story I heard yesterday in the hotel bar on my island. I stop in occasionally to, write and stuff. I've never wanted anything I've heard to be truer than this. I learned this interesting bit of info from a guy who claimed to be a retired terrorist security specialist from Israel. He said that when they are on alert for a potential suicide bomber, they pay special attention to unusual bulges in the crotch of men's pants, not for bombs, but for protective metal cups. Suicide bombers are promised virgins in heaven, so they want to protect their penis in the blast. He said when a bomb does go off, they look through the carnage for a penis in a cup. They know it was the bomber's and can get his DNA. Can anyone verify if this is in any way true? The jerk for telling my mother-in-law she is no longer allowed to visit after she went through our trash. My mother-in-law's 60s F has always been a lot. She means well, but she has no sense of boundaries. She lives 10 minutes away and used to stop by unannounced constantly until my wife, 30F, and I, 31M, put our foot down. The final straw happened last week. We have been trying to start a family and have been going through fertility treatments. It's been an emotional and private journey. We had a negative result from our latest round, which was devastating. I cleaned out the bathroom cabinet where we kept the tests and other medical supplies and threw it all in the kitchen trash before taking the bag out to the curb. The next day, my meal showed up at our door crying. She held up the used pregnancy test and a box of fertility drugs from the trash and demanded to know why we didn't tell her we were trying, why it failed, and what was wrong with us. I was furious. I told her that going through our trash was a massive violation of privacy and that our medical journey was none of her business. She said she was just helping take the trash out and couldn't help but notice. I lost my temper and told her she was no longer welcome in our home until she could learn to respect basic boundaries. Now my wife is caught in the middle. She agrees her mom was wrong but thinks my reaction was too harsh and that I should apologize for yelling. She says her mom is just overly involved because she cares. I refuse to apologize. AITJ, TLDR. My mother-in-law went through our kitchen trash, found private medical waste related to our fertility struggles, and confronted us about it. Edit. I don't want to demonize my dad. He's a hard-headed meat and potatoes guy with a big heart, and anyone who's met him knows he loves people deeply, sometimes more than himself. He and my mom stood by me for years when I struggled with agoraphobia and could barely leave my room. I'm grateful for that. I'm nearly 30 now, back in school, interviewed for a job, and I'm finally rebuilding my life after years of anxiety, with plans of moving out soon. All's to say I'm not writing this to score points against him. I'm just trying to figure out if I crossed a line. 3 years ago marked an awful time for him. His older brother, 73, someone he saw as a father figure, was killed by an ex-wife. Not long after, my dad got into a fight at work, lost his job, and dealt with an assault case on top of a lawsuit over a back injury, which today, after several years, he finally got news he could get surgery for. Since then, he hasn't been working. Just Social Security payouts, bottles of whiskey, late-night political videos, and belligerent spells. His doctors have warned him. His blood pressure is high, his liver labs aren't great, and they prescribe meds. But when he felt dizzy from mixing pills, drinking, and his weight, he stopped the meds instead of changing the other pieces. He's still dizzy and scared, and I think a lot of this is tied to mortality anxiety he doesn't know how to face. That's the backdrop. Then came his birthday. Around 9:30 p.m., I reminded him to use his CPAP because I worry about it. He kept drinking and watching videos until about 3 a.m. when he came into my room, frustrated, because some sketchy Bible apps he'd downloaded were acting like malware. I was studying, but I took his phone and removed the apps. He said, "Wait, let me watch so I can learn for next time." And I replied, "Dad, this is like the 10th time. We've gone over it before, but it's okay." I meant, it's okay, sincerely, but the 10th time part landed badly.
He got sarcastic, something like, "So your mom cleans up after me and you wipe my ass? I can do things you can't." I tried to de-escalate. Everyone struggles with something. It's not a big deal. For a moment it calmed. Then he said, "Isn't it sacrilege that a Bible app would hijack my phone?" I said the Bible has been used like that forever. That was the wrong tone for 3 a.m. He then attacked my faith, saying I don't really believe, just conceptualize God. I got defensive and said, "Dad, I could explain the Bible to you 100 times better than you could to me." Not my best line. He walked out still belligerent, and I followed. Also not my best choice at that hour, and said, "You asked me for help and then trashed my belief? Imagine if I did that to you. That's rude." He shot back, "Oh please, I pay rent. I help you live." Then called me the devil. We ended up yelling and woke my mom, and cops were called from scared neighbors. No violence that thankfully ended with no one going to jail. He's 58, grieving, scared, and stuck in a pattern that's hurting him and the people he loves. I know he isn't a monster. He's a man who's been knocked down hard and hasn't found his footing. I also know that some of what he says when he's drinking isn't who he truly is. Ida for standing up for myself at that moment while I was helping him. Sure, I could have been kinder, but I feel I am in the right, even though the cops came and my poor mom had to deal with all of this.
Woman's shelter from a storm. I, 23F, am an avid hiker in Australia. Last week I encountered a middle-aged woman, around 50 years old, as I was coming off a trail. She was walking in my direction as I came out of the bush. It was strange to see her. The sun was almost down and the weather was starting to turn. Also, this was an intermediate collection of trails at best, difficult even for me at worst. And she didn't look super athletic. Point is, my weird radar was going off already. She walked up to me and stopped, standing too close for my comfort, gestured toward the clearing where my car was parked, and asked whether it was my car. No greeting or anything. When I looked over, something made me uncomfortable. There were no cars other than mine in sight. The trail I was on isn't crazy far from civilization, but it's not a walk away, one of those highway rest stops that's there for the trail and a few parking spots. No way she could have got there without driving. I let her know that, yes, it was my car, to which she responded something like, "Perfect. There's a storm coming. I can't be caught in it and I need to get home." She was very matter of fact. It seemed like she had already decided what would happen. Without waiting for my response, she started striding for my car. I am glad I always lock my doors, because she would have hopped right in the passenger seat had the door opened. As she was walking over to it, I went after her, trying to explain that I wasn't sure it was a good idea for her to hitch a ride, asking why she was out here in the first place. I was talking to a brick wall until she realized the car was locked, at which point she turned around with this look of anger and frustration on her face. She starts ranting the same stuff as before. "I need to get home. A storm is coming. I cannot be caught in it. Why don't you get it?" I was very confused at this point, and a little scared, as this woman was now a barrier between me and my vehicle. I told her something like, "I'm sorry, but I don't feel comfortable with having a stranger in my car." She stared me down for a few seconds, I guess trying to gauge her chances at asking again. And just like that, The anger drops from her face and she's silent. I was really uncomfortable. I asked if I could call someone if there was another way to help. She starts walking towards me, scary, but then right past me. I'm still asking her questions, then just saying things like hello and excuse me. No response. She walked to the other end of the rest stop and maintained eye contact with me as she sat down on a log, then just stared at nothing. I didn't follow her. I got into my car really shaken up and drove away. As soon as I was back in cell range, I called fire and rescue. They said they would send someone out. I was scared for my safety in the moment, but she was just some woman alone in the middle of nowhere. Am I the asshole for refusing this strange woman a ride shelter in my car? Am I the a-hole for shutting down a conversation with a stranger in the park? I 23F am laying on my back on a picnic blanket in my local park, reading my book on a very sunny day. I'm really into my book, so I don't notice until the last second that there is someone walking very close to me. I look up to see a youngish guy, 25 maybe, who says something like, "Wow, I just had to come up to you and say you're beautiful. What's your name?" I feel so uncomfortable and caught off guard and don't want to tell him my name. I mumble something like, "Oh, thank you, but sorry, I'm reading my book at the moment." He does not take this well and says, "Woo, you're so rude. This would never happen where I'm from in Sweden. This happened in England." I then say that I'm sorry, but I'm not really interested in talking. But he starts ranting about how, as I am in a public place, that he has every right to talk to me. I then ask him to leave me alone, and he says that I'm a cold bitch, etc., which really took me aback. He eventually leaves and walks off to his bike, which I notice is chained up pretty close by, and cycles off. I now feel strange and paranoid that he's still around, but I also don't know if I've made more of the situation than I needed to. Basically, was I being really rude? The asshole for shutting it down completely. It felt so creepy, but maybe he was just trying to be friendly. Is coming up to someone like that in a park with an unsolicited compliment something that might not be received the same way in British culture versus Swedish culture? I feel so weirded out by this interaction, but I also feel a bit bad guilty. Help. Edit, thank you for all of your replies. I'm glad I listened to my instincts and won't hesitate in the future to shut down other creepy nice guys. As for all of the comments about how that is the most un-Swedish behavior ever, I did have this suspicion, but he honestly made me feel so guilty and unsure about how I'd reacted, so thank you for confirming. As for the nice guy himself, about an hour after the awful encounter, I noticed that he was still circling the park on his bike every 20 minutes or so, glancing in my direction. I'd already posted at this point, but this majorly flagged that this probably wasn't just a social interaction gone badly wrong. He was a predatory creep. I didn't want to walk home whilst he was around in case he followed. So I waited until my boyfriend was able to come and pick me up from the park to walk me home.
Am I the a-hole for yelling to be let out of the car when my creepy boyfriend's dad turned on the one feature I asked him not to? I spent last night with my boyfriend's family. We'd gone out to dinner, and his dad was gonna drive. So my boyfriend, me, his parents, and his brother all squeezed into his dad's car, and we went to the restaurant. I had a few drinks, and his dad had too, since he was gonna drive. But on the way back, his dad started asking me, "You work on self-driving cars, yeah?" "I do, I'm a systems engineer and have job-hopped between a handful of autonomy companies." He started asking me how I liked his Tesla, and I joked, "Just fine as long as you're the one driving it." And he asked me what I thought about FSD, which he'd just bought. He asked if he should turn it on. I said not with me in the car, and he then laughed and asked how I was still so scared when I work with this stuff every day. I was like, "Ooh, it's because but stopped when he pulled over and literally started turning it on. I was like, "I'm not kidding, let me out of the car if you're gonna do this," and my boyfriend's dad and brother started laughing at me, and my boyfriend still wasn't saying anything. His dad was like, "It'll be fine," and I reached over my boyfriend's little brother and tried the door handle, which was locked. I was getting mad, and probably more so because I was tipsy, and I yelled at him, "Let me the hell out." My boyfriend started trying to tell me to calm down because I was drunk, and I told him that it didn't fucking matter, I'd be out of here sober or drunk. He told me to stop cussing in front of his little brother, and I told him to tell his dad to cut his shit out and I wouldn't have anything to cuss over. His dad was like, "Fine, I didn't realize it'd be such a big deal and drove home normally, but things have been tense as hell. We got back to his house and he was mad at me for overreacting, the first time I met his family all together. I got angry and was like, I'm not the one who decided to do the one thing that I said I'm not comfortable with in the car, just after I asked him not to laugh at me. He said that his dad used the car a lot, and it was fine, and I asked him, since we're both rock climbers, would he ever get on a route with his carbiner that doesn't lock? What if someone says they do it all the time and it's fine? He was like, absolutely not, but that's different, and I was like, it's literally not, just like we don't know any climbers who do that shit. Nobody in my field that I know would stay in that car. He got mad and told me to go to sleep. I was drunk. But honestly, today I woke up sober and I stand by what I did, like I wasn't comfortable with what was happening, and my boyfriend's family all laughed and started trying to do the one fucking thing I said no to. Like whatever that thing is, it's messed up. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my boyfriend's dad to let me out of the car?
Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's boyfriend that I'm not his dead sister? I know how it sounds, but let me explain. So I've known my friend Mary for a very long time, and a couple years ago, she got a boyfriend. It was pretty sudden, since she had only met him a couple days beforehand, and she was introducing him to her parents and all of her friends. He also lives 5 hours away. When I met him, I had a weird feeling, but I just ignored it because I trusted her judgment. A couple months later, the three of us were hanging out when Mary asked if her BF, let's call him Matt, could come over stay with me while she goes to an appointment the next day. Because he would just be by himself with her parents. I said it was fine, and it went by with no complications. She, however, continued to ask me if he could come over more and more, until eventually he would text me every time she would go to work or school or anything else really. Eventually, I started to get a little weirded out, especially after he started talking to me about his late sister Kat. She died when he was very young. From what I could get, her and I were born in the same year. Brown hair, eyes, and he says we look alike. I pointed out that those are common traits and that he shouldn't compare us. And that he was my friend's BF, not my brother. But he only insisted that he was my brother now, since even though I was alive when she died, I had to be his sister. That's when he started buying me things. At first it was small, but they grew and grew until I had to beg him to stop getting me things. He would also tell my younger sister that he was her brother too, and she ended up putting him in her school family tree assignment because of it. And he would bring that up every time I asked him to stop hugging me or cuddling me. One time he even came into my house very early in the morning and laid in my sheets with me, while I slept and watched something on my TV. When I woke up, I wanted to kick him out, but he apologized and he said he wouldn't do it again. And I knew Mary would get upset if I did that. But things changed when Mary told me he cheated on her. When that happened, I finally had a reason to stop letting him come over, and I took it. When it first happened, he said he was cutting me off, which I never responded to. But then he sent me a long text saying that I was a terrible person, that he regretted buying me anything, and that he just wanted to be a good brother to me. I texted Mary, and she said she's staying with him, and I asked her if that was really what she wanted, and she said yes. So I then asked her if she can tell him not to text me anymore, and that whatever he's done is on him. But he texted me saying to keep her out of it, and that this is between him and I, and that I always treated him terribly. I told him to stop texting me, and that I thought I made it clear that he was Mary's boyfriend first, always. But recently, I've been doubting myself. Everyone I talk to says he's in the wrong, but Mary won't talk to me still. So am I the asshole? And just for more information, Mary started dating Matt when she was 17 and he was 21. I was 18 at the time, and now I'm 20. and Matt got into my place because my mom is prone to not locking the door behind her. I have talked to her, and she locks it every time now. Also, thank you everyone so much for your concern. I blocked him after I told him to stop texting me, and I hope he doesn't do anything. I must admit, I was nervous about my safety as well, but I hope that as long as I don't go around Mary, I should be okay. Update. Hello. I know it's been a while, and no one will probably read the update, but I do have one. Just in case anyone wanted to know. Mary and Matt broke up about a month or two after I posted this. To make a very long story short, he cheated on her with someone he met on Discord, and he was doing so for some time. And Mary met someone about a month ago who is very nice. I also told Mary, after they broke up, all the things that Matt did, and she was horrified. She apologized, but I did as well for not telling her everything before. I haven't seen Matt since then, so I didn't go to the police or get a restraining order. I am confident he'll stay away. Mary did tell me that he has tried to reach out, but I never got anything, and I won't be responding to the attempt. Mary and I aren't really close anymore, but we still do talk and are friendly. That's okay though. We both got lives to live.